Deathrock, easily my favourite subgenre of goth. Let's look at what it is, along with 5 brilliant modern death rock bands. Let's do it. Welcome to By Candlelight, beaming goth, darkwave and post-punk straight into your brain. No, not the brain! Deathrock has been around since time began. It hasn't really. It's just been around since the early 80s. It all started in the US, specifically in California, with bands such as Christian Death, 45 Grave and Super Heroines. All amazing, classic and influential. In fact, you can check out my favourite Christian Death albums right there. Eventually, in the mid-80s, Deathrock gave way to what we now term as goth rock, with bands like Sisters of Mercy and Fields of the Nephilim. But what is the sound of Deathrock? The sound basically combines punk with elements of horror, leaving a dark, exhilarating mix of the two. Guitar effects would be used to create atmosphere, and very often the lyrics would draw on those horror elements. Voices would also be drenched in some form of effect, but still with that punk, almost talked delivery, and very often there would be that upwards reflection at the end of phrases. Aesthetically, with Deathrock almost being punk's darker distant cousin, it would retain some of those punk elements with the huge hair, but would deviate into heavier, darker makeup and a more androgynous wardrobe. The great thing is, despite its origins being rooted in the early 80s, there are some fantastic modern bands that are very much keeping Deathrock alive. So these are my top 5 band recommendations. Wooltas are from Portland, Oregon, and are very much a throwback to that traditional Deathrock sound. Consisting of 3 members from other bands such as Get Hustle, Poison Idea and Atriarch, the only release I could find was one called 5-Song Demo, which was released in 2019. With witchy and vampiric wails, back with driving guitars, this is really atmospheric stuff. It actually feels like it was made in the early 80s and is only now seeing the light of day, or the dark of night. This is authentic sounding death rock at its best, and I really hope they continue to make more. New Skeletal Faces are from California and bring a much more aggressive sound, with the guitars pushed really forward in the mix. You still get those banshee-like vocals, but they very much take a back seat to the music. A heavier early Christian Death is the closest comparison here, but I wouldn't want to take anything away from their own sound and sense of style. It's fantastic to hear bands like this in 2024. New Skeletal Faces have one full-length album at the current time, which is Celestial Disease, released in 2019. There's also an EP called EP. Mystic Priestess unfortunately are no longer together, but all the same they have 3 amazing EPs that I urge you to check out. Hailing once again from California, Mystic Priestess were a trans band and bring an authentic death rock wall of death. It's a real shame they're not still together, but their social media does point you in the direction of all their individual bands that they're now involved with. With a name like Bloody Dead and Sexy, this band could not be anything else but death rock. A German band, they actually formed in 1997, so are one of the oldest bands on this list. They didn't start releasing material until 2002, but have so far released 6 albums. Christian Death were an obvious influence here, and you can really hear it in the voice and the phrasing of the lyrics. But the songs and the general production are great, and I really urge anyone to check out the track Some of This. Horror Vacui, if that's how it's pronounced, were formed in Italy in 2010. They're the only band here not to be pure death rock, because they combine it with post-punk and traditional goth rock. You still get those death rock-like guitar effects and tone, but the voice is very different to the other bands that I've mentioned. Instead of the banshee cries and the punk upwards reflection, you get a much deeper tone and delivery in the voice. To date, the band have released 4 short albums and currently have a new one in the pipeline for this year. So those are 5 modern death rock bands that I recommend you check out. I'll put links in the description so that you can listen, support and spread the word. And please do, because this is how these bands stay alive. It's just so great to see new Deathrock bands out there, with most sounding like they've just come straight from that early 80s era. So, what modern Deathrock bands do you like? Let's post some suggestions in the comments and help support these bands and this genre that we all love. Until next time, see you later.